back to the Unpatched Gaming Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tyler.
And I'm the other host, Zoc.
Zoc. Oh, that's a new one. We are here for our first official 2022 episode. You know, the game of the year came out in 2022, but we are getting started with some brand new stuff. Got a couple series lined up this year, but we wanted to get this episode out of the way that we've had planned for a little while. I often like to pair games that fit into a particular category or have some interesting themes.
Disparate games.
Like
you like to say disparate
yes.
games, but that you see through this like true third eye vision, like, no, these belong together. And I'm like, okay.
Correct.
Let's do it.
So you might be thinking to yourself, Tyler, you're an idiot. These games are nothing alike. Nay, I would say. They are very similar.
Allow me to soothe your feeble mind.
Correct. So, Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham Asylum, and One Step from Eden could not be any more different. However, they are both taking after games that have seen almost no spiritual successors. That is Metroid Prime. Batman Arkham Asylum is taking a lot of notes from that. I thought it took a few more. You know, it's been many years since I've played it. I thought it took a few more pages from Metroid Prime than it turns out it actually does. But you can see it there. You can see where its inspirations are coming from. And the same is true for One Step from Eden. I don't think there has been anybody that has attempted a Battle Network style card game. And here we have one. And if you did watch our Battle Network episode last year, I said if this game were to be made today, it would be something like Slay the Spire. It would be a roguelike game in which you're getting new cards every round. It's exactly what happened. We have One Step from Eden here doing exactly that. I think it's a great format for this kind of game, but we're going to talk about why One Step from Eden might not be it. But we're first going to talk about some beer. We have two beers from Equal Parts Brewing. Why are you doing this?
I don't know.
These whale noises.
Dude, whales are the best.
This is in, Houston. I didn't realize this was a Texas beer.
Houston?
No. Equal Parts Brewing from Houston, Texas.
Just pulling Megaman stuff out. Olo. That movie is so good.
It is pretty good. We're going to start with one of their lighter beers. We have their lager beer, a German-style Pils, and we'll pull out the next one. This is the lightest beer I've ever seen. Wow.
That, it looks like very clear lime juice.
Like, this might be lighter than, not that I would know, a Bud Light or something. This is...
Allow me to soothe your feeble minds. Clink, Tyler, clink, clink. Nick always tells us when he was editing, he's like, you need to stop drinking at the same time.
Unless he did specifically say, and you might notice our new video format. That's because we have lost an editor. Now he is still with
alive.
us.
Yeah, he's alive. Let's clarify.
He's still with us here on this earth, but he's no longer editing our videos. So, in order to... I don't like this very much. This is incredibly bitter.
I like it, actually. I think not a whole lot, but I do like it.
But yeah, I'll have a couple more sips.
Nick is unfortunately very busy. He's started a new job. He's about to pass his first year of marriage, so he's still in his first year of marriage. He's got school. He's doing school while having a full-time job. Mm-hmm. The kid's busy. So,
he is.
But we are too, so that's why we will not be editing the videos ourselves, which we are capable of. Okay, we can do it.
Well, we are. We're just doing something way more simpler, as you have seen here on the screen already, if you are a video viewer. Equal Parts Brewing, their German-style Pils. This is oddly bitter. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, and I mean, Pilsners are getting hopped more these days, I've noticed, and I don't like that trend. I like a crisp, really like a good bodied pilsner.
Yeah, I've been drinking a lot of pilsners recently and lagers. I mean, they're both lagers, but just different
Is
styles.
pilsner a lager?
Yeah, pilsner. So lagers and ales are really your styles.
But I thought that a pilsner was an ale.
Okay. I could be wrong.
Oh, type pale lager. You're right. You right. That explains why I love them so much.
I have enjoyed them recently. I used to dismiss pretty much any lager as a pretty boring beer. That's not the case. There's a lot to enjoy there. This one, however, I think kind of misses the mark for me. Upon a few more sips, it is much better than that first initial impression. But the bitterness has kind of taken me by surprise. I prefer a malty
bitterness without body
lager. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I like it actually. I don't. I don't think I'd go out of my way to have it again, but I enjoy it.
No, it's good enough to drink. I'm not going to not drink it.
To drink.
But let's get started. I want you to take us away here with One Step from Eden, because Battle Network, that's your baby. That's your number 2,
baby.
right?
It's a top 5 is so unordered except for number 1.
Except for number 1.
Yeah, except for number 1. It's so unordered. So it's there. It's equal parts 2 as anything else in the top 5. It's such a brilliant video game. I love it so much. And to see that someone had taken inspiration from it did my heart a lot of jolly good.
How did the community react to it? I know you're in that subreddit, right?
Yeah, I'm in the sub and a couple other places. And the community tends to kind of have the lukewarm reception that you and I have to it. And I think that's really due, as when you get into this game, it's far more inspired by Slay the Spire than it is Battle Network. It does have those Battle Network touches here or there, but it's even tough to truly call it a successor in some ways. I think enough, the format's there, you can tell they were drawing from that. So I think it's enough, but I would call this more of a successor to Slay the Spire than Battle Network. And I think that's probably why the community is more lukewarm on it. So I understand.
I don't know if I would call it a successor to Slay the Spire, because every now and then you get something like, well, let's say Batman. Every game that incorporates Arkham combat, you wouldn't call a
maybe, but
a Batman successor, or every game that has, just like Hollow Knight does, that you die, you get the pickups. You wouldn't call that a Dark Souls successor. Like, that format is so just in modern design. There's really no one.
The way you pick up persistent pickups, like along the top left, whatever you call those items, like in Slay the Spire, the little permanent upgrades that you get for that run. It has those. The way that progression works, the decisions that you're making, risk versus reward. The you're picking up cards after each battle. You're building a deck in a similar format. There are different implemented differently, but there are different suits, I would say, of cards. We kind of synergize with each other. I think it's got a lot of Slay the Spire in here.
I'd say enough, but I think Slay the Spire has just inserted itself into. Is it wrong to say, like, it's just part of the zeitgeist of design?
I think
just
that's
so
fair.
because nothing Slay the Spire has done is unique to Slay the Spire. It just came together in such a perfect package, I would say. And I would say perfect. I absolutely love Slay the Spire. But nothing it's done, like the relics you get, that's in many roguelites or roguelikes, even just the traditional
ones. But it's even
ones.
Presented in the same way in this game, and they are doing really similar things.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I just think
it's a little
Slay
more
the Spire
heavy-handed
has
than inspired, but you're right, not quite succeeded. Like, not quite a successor of.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's more than just an inspiration or a mechanic. Like, there's a lot of the DNA of Slay the Spire in here, a lot of it.
That's also true of Inscription. You're looking at it vertically instead of horizontally, but I guess in Slay the Spire it's a vertical map as well. In Eden it's horizontal.
Yeah,
but that's all the same.
There's that much though. Like I'm talking. It's even in the presentation of this game. Like, there's so much of it in there. But no, I get what you're saying. And regardless of the way you define it, this is Battle Network meets Slay the Spire. That's the way pretty much every news outlet described it. It's right on the money. So I guess a quick summary of Battle Network, for those who don't know, is a series of 6 Game Boy Advance games, often kind of dumped into just the cash grab spin-off category by a lot of people. Even like Scott the Waz talks about Battle Network like that. A lot of people just either, especially those who haven't played it, just kind of, or have only played the first game, which is a very rough game. Very rough. That 2 becomes what Battle Network is, really, in a lot of ways. So a lot of people play 1 and go, yeah, just, a little cash grab, cheap spin-off game. But that's absolutely not the case. These 2, 3, and I'd argue 5 and 6 are incredibly well-designed video games, doing a lot of things that have not been done since. They're bringing awesome synergy between these mechanics they're introducing. You go listen to our video. I mean, I heap praise on this game all the time, and the reason it doesn't get many successors is because it's written off like that a lot of the time. And you look at the review score. I think Battle Network 3, Battle Network 3, the one we played, those games got like a 6 out of 10 from most outlets, like low scores.
I bet that a lot of people talked about the story and the progression, which I think today a lot more people are ready to dismiss if that's obviously not really what matters here.
Yeah.
Though there is a lot of it in Battle Network. You can't skip. There's no way around it. It's a big part of the game.
You can skip all the cutscenes, but
oh, you can?
Yeah, you can skip every cutscene.
I guess I forgot that. That's very good.
Yeah,
that is very, very good.
Delightful. when you're replaying, especially, you can there's a lot in there I like though. I mean, I've talked about the kind of sad amount of love I have for the story of some of these games.
Yeah.
I played when I was a kid, and they do the job, but they do what needs to be done. Maybe overstay a little bit, but again, it's this combat, this deck building system they have, the way that the cards synergize with each other, and then on top of that, they take it to the next layer and consider how people play the game. You're rewarded for that, but then you're rewarded even more if you diversify the way you play with the Navi customizer parts and the styles, and I mean, just really, really good at giving players something worth changing things up for, giving players something worth digging deep into the system they have there. Every card has at least 2 uses, multiple properties, break and slice and all these
the
things.
Upgrade path for each card is also very nice.
It's
where you can get totally disparate synergies to start moving into other play styles. That I do really like that.
Yeah, and it's very tactical.
Whereas something like Slay the Spire doesn't do that. It's just a flat increase to, it's doing 5 damage, now it does 8 damage.
Yeah.
But this, you get to choose. Is it the same every time, or is it a pool that it's randomly choosing from?
For what?
When you upgrade a card.
For what?
In Battle, I mean, One Step from Eden, when you upgrade a card.
I barely upgraded.
Oh, really?
Barely upgraded. But yeah, it's a pool.
Okay.
It is a pool that you
so
choose
I like that. Yeah, it's a pool you choose from. I'm wondering if it's the same 3 for level 1, or if there's like 7 and then it gives you 3 of them.
I'm not too sure.
Okay.
To be honest.
It's I really like upgrading cards in this game because you can fit things that shouldn't go into your deck into it now.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. All that to say, Battle Network is a game that deserves things to be inspired by it. It's so well designed, a lot of good ideas, and really Eden's the first game in this entire time that even like anybody's even recognized as having inspiration from it. There are games you could say have elements that are like Battle Network, but definitely not inspired by Battle Network. Like Radiant Historia is not inspired by Battle Network.
No,
it's just using as a grid-based combat.
Yeah,
like
has that ever been mentioned?
No,
I'd never even thought that.
No. I just pulling it out. Just something there.
You see it on the shelf.
Yeah, it's on the shelf. And it's not. Nobody's really taken that and gone, this is worth iterating on. And One Step from Eden tried to iterate on it, and they tried to kind of merge it with what Slay the Spire has popularized in a lot of ways. So really cool. Glad that we have someone who's noticing this game that deserves so much more notice. It is fantastic. But yeah, I think we both agree that Eden fails to live up to either of its inspirations. Unfortunately, this is not a game I'm probably going to go back to. It doesn't.
I definitely won't.
It doesn't deliver. So just for some context, I did beat the game once. I unlocked almost every. I unlocked every character. And just as a brief before we dive too much deeper, this is a grid-based combat system where, like Slay the Spire, you make kind of branching path decisions, much less branchy. It's pretty concentrated, and you can get into combat, and there's this 4x4 grid that you're on. Cards that you play, you're randomly shuffled. You have 2 cards. You can use A or B to choose your B card or your A card. When you use it, the next card from your deck comes in until you're out. Then you have to shuffle. You use these cards. They have positioning. Each one has synergistic bonuses with other cards of its type. As you progress, you can pick up the equivalent of relics in Slay the Spire, or kind of a permanent bonus for the rest of that run. I mean, you can stack a lot of them. You have money. You can go to shops and buy cards, trash cards, buy permanent upgrades, things like that. I say permanent for the run. And
I did like in the shop. I don't think this is in Slay the Spire. One of the things you can pick up is free, kind of. You get some sort of upgrade. It might be a health upgrade. It might just be healing. It might be extra MP, whatever it is. But for some amount of rounds, you're going to have a debuff. And if you can stay alive throughout that debuff, that upgrade really is permanently yours.
I like that system quite a bit.
And you can stack those.
Curse of the Dead Gods does that all day.
Good.
That's
good,
like their
good.
whole jam.
It's a very good system.
Everything has a price.
And for really cheap, you can reshuffle the entire store. So early on in the game, when you know things are going to be relatively easy, you can stack a bunch of those. So you just pay the 30 or whatever it is to reshuffle the store, having already picked up the 2 debuffs, get the next 2 debuffs, and then pay 40 and reshuffle the store again. And you've got 6 upgrades for just a few debuffs that, they only last like 3 matches. So it's nice. It's a good way to
You usually
have
to fight the boss
benefits.
after that, though, because of how the store is placed. One thing I do like about the game is everything is on that grid. When you go to the shopkeeper's on that grid on the other side. Mm-hmm. You can fight the shopkeeper. Hardest boss in the game, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's like harder than the last boss and everything.
Of course.
She's really tough.
That's typical.
But if you beat her, you can play as her.
Have you ever played Spelunky?
Oh, yeah, of course.
The shopkeep in that game is insane.
Yeah, aggressive. $2! It's incredible. So yeah, and you can choose. One thing I do like is there are multiple suits, basically types of cards from different decks, you could almost say, that each kind of have synergies with cards in that deck. And you can choose. You have 2 slots at the top of your deck when you're on the pause menu, and you can choose which cards show up the most. You can pick the same suit twice, so it's mostly those cards showing up in your hand first.
That's such a good system.
You can, and you can have it kind of, because it's trying to counteract one of the bigger weaknesses in the game, which we'll get to later, which is just the incredible pool of cards. Like just a huge
It's way too much.
Huge pool of cards. This helps to some extent. I wouldn't call it a solution, but it does mitigate it. But we'll dig more into that. There's a boss. You have to fight 7 bosses and then the final boss as you progress through these areas. And it does, especially in the first 4 areas, basically the speed of enemies increases as you keep going. Mm-hmm. They move faster, attack faster. So in the first 4 areas, you do feel kind of like Battle Network. You're moving around the grid, dodging enemy attacks, trying to defeat the enemy. Eventually it gets so fast though. Like you're not dodging anything at that point. There's just, if you are, I want to meet you. You're incredible.
Yeah. It gets very, very difficult.
Yeah, and it's tough. I beat it just this morning. I wouldn't have been able to say I beat it, except we needed more footage. So I played some more this morning and I beat it. I was like, oh, I beat it.
Good.
Very.
Good. I know when I have been defeated, and that game is not for me.
Yeah.
I was happy, like I feel accomplished pressing on to, I think, the 5th area I got to. I unlocked 2 characters, I think.
On is where you're unlocking them.
Yeah, I think I unlocked 2 characters. But so maybe I got to the 6th area.
And there's some moral stuff. You can either kill the boss or spare them, and you get benefits.
If you kill them after the 4th area, you unlock them, right?
No, you get, if you beat them after the 4th area, you unlock them.
Even if you leave them alive?
Yeah, even if you leave them alive.
Cool.
And then it changes your ending. If you kill even one, like the final boss will kill you immediately. If you
what?
Yeah, and if you kill all of them, you have a special final boss. And
why would you kill them at all?
You get rarer cards. You don't get any cards for leaving them alive.
Oh, but the benefits are so good.
The benefits are good. Like, they'll show up in combat and either do a bunch of damage for you or heal you, or one literally brings you back from the dead once.
Yeah.
Like, that's so good. So it's a bit silly. I think that you
I like
have
the
to
idea of leaving them alive or not. It just doesn't really seem like it's worth it to kill them.
I think it is. If you have full health and you already have a couple helping you, and you can kill them, get a better card. But honestly, like, we'll talk about it in a little bit. Let me kind of start, because we're getting a little bit further ahead. Let's just kind of frame the conversation. We're going to talk about the things that very obviously inspired this game, what they did well that Eden was trying to emulate, and why it didn't end up paying off. That's kind of how I want to structure this conversation in a way. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let's start with Battle Network. I really only have one thing to say about Battle Network, and because it really only took one thing, and that's the combat. Only took one thing that Slay the Spire wasn't also doing in some way, and that's the combat. The action combat. So you're moving along the grid, dodging enemy attacks, positioning yourself and the enemy to land your stronger moves. There are often obstacles in the way. It doesn't have to be an enemy on the field. There can be this is also taken from Battle Network 4 through 6. There are good people on the other side of the field, like nurses or something
That you have to save.
or if you hit them, they'll die, or if the enemy hits them, they'll die, and if you save them, you get a benefit of some kind, usually health or something. In Battle Network, it's a rare chip or something, So
If I were to play another Battle Network game, which one should it be?
5.
5.
Every other person listening, it's 6. For Tyler, it's 5.
Why?
Because they have this really interesting liberation map system where it's a totally different game, basically, where you have this massive grid on the overworld with blocked panels, and you have to basically clear the panels strategically and try to get to the boss in a certain number of turns. And you still have to fight every time you liberate the panels, clear the panels. And you build a team as the game progresses, and each person has a special ability. One person can walk over the panels. One person can liberate a mass stretch of them, or everybody has their own benefits. So I think you just enjoy that. Like, it's simple, but like, it's addicting. It's a fun. That's what a lot of people don't like about the game, but I enjoy. 6 is, though, if you want just more of the multiple use synergies, if you like the style system, 6 literally no cost at all just hands you, when you unlock your style, which is crosses in that game, you just pull a menu down and pick the one you want to use. You can build decks around them, and they don't end like styles. They don't end. In 4 and 5, the styles, the cross system, it does end. So yeah, it's. I think you like
we've
5
had
and 6.
this conversation before.
I think in Battle Network, yeah.
Probably. What this reminds me of a little bit, and I don't know why, it's not really the same thing. I'm just reminded of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. When you first get out to, like, after the first couple encounters, the world map opens up to you, and it's empty. It's just a bunch of nodes everywhere, and everything you do in the game is based on a number of days, and it takes you a certain number of days to go between each node. Some are closer, some are further, and so missions might last 12 days, 28 days. An enemy on the field, on the world map, might stay there for 9 days. And every time you encounter a new story location, you get to choose where on the map it is. So you can put it completely on the other side of the map, or next to this, let's say like a natural wonder or something. Just like you can put it next to a mountain. And every single city has some sort of adjacency bonus, but only 1 or 2. So if you don't place this specific city next to this specific mountain, then you won't get this extra item that's there. This quest might not be unlocked. And even if you do put it somewhere, when you unlock a quest from City 3, you have to go to City 7 to be in. Well, you put City 7 50 days away of travel, and you can't get there in time to finish this quest. It's a really interesting system that I've never seen before.
I like that. I have it. I finally bought Tactics Advance.
Good.
found a really good deal on it. So
One day we will go through that series.
the Evilous Cities.
Yes,
I'm excited.
I did end up picking up Vagrant Story. Goodness,
I'm sorry for
It's
your
expensive.
wallet.
Yeah,
sorry.
I found a decent deal. I mean, it
I
was,
just
it
bought
was
it
like
on the PS3.
80.
Just bought downloaded on PS3.
Yeah, I also have that, but it was
Good.
going up so fast.
At least now you have both. You know?
It was going up so fast. I was never going to buy it again. Anyhow, moving on from that.
Yeah. So all that to say, I mean, the action combat is there. You're moving around, but really, I think the biggest misstep here is it becomes absolutely irrelevant. Either your cards that you're building, the deck you're building, the style that you're playing, the relics that you're picking up, these things are so much better than the need to move. Like you have so much shield, or you eliminate the enemy so fast, or it's about getting hit, or there's any number of things which the game is designed to do. Eventually becomes, like we said, so fast you can't be dodging enemy attacks. It becomes so much less tactical. All that tactical portion that you get from Battle Network, being able to build your deck, have 2 different decks, consider what's on the field, how you're playing, what style you have, all these different myriad things. That is totally out the window, and because it's far more of a deck builder, and so by the time you get to the end, they're not building these bosses to be dodged or maneuvered around. It's just, can your deck beat them in time? And that's really what it becomes. Even if you watch people play it on YouTube, like, it's more about how good the deck they built is and how fast they can do that damage, or not necessarily the deck, but the build overall that they've made for whichever character they picked. And from someone who was hoping for more of a Battle Network inspired game like that's a bummer. I'm not getting that from this game, because they couldn't, with the game they wanted to make, they couldn't continue that. So
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a little odd too, because then like the grid system becomes mostly irrelevant. Even like enemies, hiding behind rocks, you're doing so much damage, halfway through the game, halfway through the run, that you're just blowing.
So it's designed sort of. Its inspiration starts to fall apart under its ultimate design. What it did become.
Yeah, and it's almost like, well, why at that point, why didn't you just kind of make it turn-based, like, say, the Spire, or maybe just back and forth of some kind in some other way? There's the action portion, really, it's still there. It's unfair to call it totally gone. Like, the build that I was going for in this last one, it was a really slow move that was kind of my big finisher. It was doing like 1,000 damage, like huge damage, but it's very slow, so the fast bosses, I'd have to find a way to root them down. So I'd get a move that roots them, and then I unload on them and kill them. That's
unfortunate, man. Do you remember the Game Maker's Toolkit episode on Nova 111? I think it was.
I didn't watch that one.
Oh, that game unfortunately sort of falls apart. The whole conceit of that game falls apart almost immediately, because I did play it right after I saw that episode. It's a grid-based, turn-based strategy game, sort of a roguelite. It's presented in a very weird way, unlike any other that I've played. But yeah, a bit of a roguelite, I think. And during development, they forgot to, or somehow did not turn on the turn-based sort of script for one of the enemies. And it was just moving along the grid, but doing everything in real time rather than turn-based. So they decided to roll with that and turned all the enemies move in real time, and you move in turns. Well, I say real time, everything has a quick cooldown for them. So it might be a second and a half for this enemy, 2 seconds for this enemy, and then you are moving in a turn-based way. But your turns aren't interrupted or anything. You can just move, just press the right button 9 times really quick to move across the map. And so it might as well just be in real time at that point. Like it doesn't actually feel like anything is turn-based. So the entire idea falls apart. Like, it sounds cool, it looks cool on paper, but once they start incorporating a bunch of enemies that are all moving in real time, you're also just moving in real time. It just sort of doesn't stand up under its own ideas.
Yeah, it's interesting. I see a lot of that here. Another thing that, the chips in Battle Network are which are the cards, are, they have multiple properties in this game. I mean, because of the kind of game it is, that's not a thing. You can break tiles in this game, and it feels so much less of a big deal, so negligible. Especially against some of the tougher enemies, tougher bosses. You're mostly just using it to prep an attack that uses broken panels or something. It's it can be used well, but again, by the time they're moving so fast, you're not able to implement a strategy really anymore. You're just kind of, like Slay the Spire, you're not implementing a strategy. You're playing your hand that the tactics was in how you've built your hand so far, built your deck so far, and using your hand well. That's really what's happening. It's just happening in a real-time space, and there's room for error and stuff, and that helps a little bit, but it really just doesn't live up to what Battle Network set. Well, that's not fair. It's doing something else, but it begs the question, why bother at that point?
Yeah,
because it's
and
just
that's a
not
fair
being
question.
used very well.
That's a very fair question that I think, before it becomes too late in development, pretty much everyone should just look at a mechanic and say, at that point, why bother?
Why bother?
Like, someone was asking me to help them with a board game recently, and it was so big already, and it was a strategy game, and for one unit they were trying to implement, they wanted to incorporate dice rolls, and each side of the die would like cast a different spell or something. And I looked at the pieces. This is exactly 6% of units on each side, being a 2-player game, and only one of the unit types, being 6% of the total of like 42 units they had, used dice or even cast spells. So at that point, take out the dice entirely. If it is not a significant portion of your design, don't bother with it. I think more people should just look at each of their mechanics and ask that question. Why bother?
If it's not fun, why bother?
Why bother?
Thank you, Reggie. So yeah, we'll come back to Battle Network, but
what a character.
Yeah, he's amazing. We'll come back to Battle Network because I want to talk about kind of the things it took from both these games. But Slay the Spire, obvious inspiration is the progression system. I mean, that's a lot of people have really taken that very simple way of, the branching paths. Each decision leads to X reward, Y reward, Z reward, X, Y, Z risk. It's obvious. You see it. It makes sense. It's intuitive. It took that. Another thing it took, though, is multiple player characters. And I don't think it did it nearly as well as Slay the Spire.
No.
Slay the Spire, each one of the 4 characters has a completely unique deck. And until you reach a certain point, they only have access to that deck. And the deck is built to have multiple different interesting synergies with itself. It's built to have multiple different valid strategies.
Like if you've ever played Commander, a couple times a year, there's a few pre-built Commander decks that are released that you can go buy, and they're exactly like that. There's one Commander, there's like 3 sub-strategies in the deck. You can rip out the other 2 and put in your own pieces to go with that one. Or, of course, just take some, rip it apart and, be a monster. But, yeah, each of the decks are just like that in Slay the Spire. There are a few different directions you can take, and you just start weeding out cards that don't go in the one you want.
Slay the Spire is so good. The first time I won was with the Assassin. I forget what they actually call her, but the Assassin character. And it was just, thank God I didn't fight the snail, because it was just, I had 12 shivs in my hand at once, and I'd use all of them, and then I'd get 12 more. My turn would just keep going. So many shivs. Most of my deck cost 0. Mm-hmm. And I'd have the powers that every time it recurs, you get more shivs. Shivs are 4 damage, but dude, you do 20 shivs. That's 80 damage. It's just
I forget.
crazy.
It's been a while since I've played. The snail obviously has really high defense, right?
Yeah, but the snail's problem is that after you play 10 cards...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And thankfully, the time I got to him, I've beaten every boss, I think. Yeah, I've beaten every boss. And the hardest one for me was actually the blue fox bird thing, the awakened one.
They're very hard.
That's really tough. But I beat the snail, thankfully. I went in with I was playing the robot. And so everything was just channeled orbs. So I just literally sat there. I just sat there with like, I think 10 orbs or something crazy. And just pass turn, pass turn, pass turn. Like, I mean, I'd have recurring defense happening, you know. That was delightful. It's like, screw you, snail.
Yeah, the robot is incredible. I love him so much. I wish I was better with the acolyte or
she's my favorite. I think
she's really interesting.
She's my favorite because she has like quite a few interesting strategies. The robot is probably, in my opinion, the best designed one from I think in terms of just the amount you can get out of it, how creative you can be. That's probably the best one. But dude, balancing all the stances or going for a full like miracle stance or not miracle, whatever, heightened divine stance or whatever.
I wonder what they're doing now. Because it's been a while.
Hopefully something fantastic.
Yeah.
But anyway,
they got the money to do it.
The way they do player characters in this game is it basically changes your starting relic, equivalent of your starting relic. You have a different, because in Megaman Battle Network you have your buster, right? You have a little something you can fire when you don't have any cards left for that turn. You have something equivalent in this game, and all of them are different. And some of them are drastically different. Like there are two in particular that are just so drastically different that they genuinely impact how the game is played. The rest are so negligible. It's really just kind of at that point your preference, how you want to start so that you can go for a specific deck because it starts you with a couple things that you want. It really is negligible, unfortunately. And because every character has access to the entire pool of cards and the pool of cards is so big, there's no guarantee you can get what you want anyway.
Yeah.
Because they've made it so loose, all the starting characters really have to be loose. And so the only two starting characters that are different and interesting rely on that weapon they can use even if they don't have cards.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes them unique and interesting. It's the one I beat the game with is the guy who does I think it's 33% base. That's how you start. It's 33% of how much gold you have, how much money you have is how much damage it does. But you can increase that percentage, you can get, things that make money recur for you. You just never go to the shop. I was doing 1,000 damage by the end of it, just stupid damage. See, that's interesting. But then that's one strategy. That's one strategy because it's a set gun. It's how it works. It's one strategy, So it really isn't. It doesn't, I think, either doesn't understand or didn't have time to implement the diversity available in something like Slay the Spire.
Yeah. And Slay the Spire is so much more focused in its diversity. Like it's not diverse for the sake of having a wide array of cards. Like it's all useful. That's definitely not the case here, which is a big letdown. But back to that system, where you can select one or two types of cards to sort of be drawn to. I like that a lot. I'd like to see that in more games.
Yeah, especially, obviously you're going to be building a deck, and you're not always, in a roguelite like this, you're not going to have the ability to trash as consistently as you want, So I think it's I do like that you get one free trash, though. That's nice.
Yes.
I like having that. Slay the Spire, the first thing I do is spend as much money as I can trashing, strikes.
Yes,
defense.
always.
Depending. If I'm playing the first guy, and I get that card that, however many strikes you have in your deck is how much damage it does.
Yeah.
You boys keeping those strikes.
It's very good.
That I've gotten it to do so much damage before.
I've only played him the one time through. I've never gone back.
Yeah, I went back once. I like playing him, stacking barricades and stuff, just recurring defense. That's broken.
Yes.
So
yes,
good.
It is. And then when you do body slam, you do damage based on your defense.
Body slam's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah, if you can get a barricade off and you have a full defense deck, it's
good.
Way too good. Way too good.
Well, I don't really have anything to add to this conversation any further. One Step from Eden, I think it. Oh, do you?
Yeah. Let me just run through a couple more.
I'm
things.
sorry.
No, you're good. So the deck building is something I want to talk about because obviously Battle Network and Slay the Spire are very different deck builders, and like Slay the Spire is a deck builder. Like Battle Network is not something I'd call a deck builder, but you build a deck in it. Battle Network, you're implementing your Navi customizer, your permanent upgrades, your style. All these things go into how you're choosing the cards that go in your deck. You have the code system determining what can be used be chosen on the same turn as each other. There's a lot more going on. Again, it's the strategy. It's tactical. You're positioning yourself and your enemy. It is an action game. Like you're actively moving around, dodging things, setting up combos, and it moves. There is one enemy at the very end of the game that is going to move too fast for you to dodge, and it's because it's the final super secret boss at the end, and by that time you need to have a deck that can kill it in 3 turns. Like that's the thing. It's basically a timer. It's almost like having a timer. It's just you're not going to be able to dodge the one main move it does, so kill it fast, and that's it. Everything else is dodgeable. There's some way to manipulate it or block it or get around it. It's patterns and moving. Like it's an action game. Slay the Spire, because you have decks that are meant for that character, right? Because you have decks that are meant for that character, you don't have to worry about this, like just this huge pool of like, well, am I actually going to get anything that does poison stuff later? Like, what if I can't tell you how many useless relics I got because I just never saw a card that did poison or did frost, or just because, the draw is so massive. And obviously you can set, I don't know if what you set impacts what cards you'll get when it drops. I think it does, but
I think so.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it impacts both ways, but even then, like it's really hard to build something that is that you in Slay the Spire. I feel like even if I picked a couple cards that aren't going to work with the big bad card I found, I'll be able to work around it. Yeah. And I just don't feel that way in this game. I feel like, well, I'm screwed, and half the time that the cards don't even matter anyway because I'm just using some other strategy and reshuffling, and it just feels less meaningful in a lot of ways. So yeah, I'd say that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I was disappointed. I don't want to take this time and talk about like, oh, this isn't me berating the game. It's making, I think, very important conversation, an interesting conversation about what made the games that inspired it valuable and how did it trip up. I think that's useful to identify, especially for any new developers. And okay, well, how can we? And I think focus is the big thing to take away. Like you were talking about, focus. What do we want to deliver? Not okay. Here's all the things that we want to be able to do. What do we want to deliver, and what do we want to do well? It's like Linux guys. Go back to Linux tools. Do one thing and do one thing well. If you can do that, then you can start expanding, right? That's when you can really start growing. But man, a good game from a small team that just does one thing really well, that's some of the best games you'll ever play.
Correct. Correct. Like Slay the Spire.
Let's open another beer.
Let's open another beer and move on to the next game on our list.
Yes.
Oh, hey, that is ready.
That is
again from Equal Parts Brewing in Houston. That is Houston, Texas. We have Medina Sod. This is their hazy pale ale.
Hazy pale ale.
I like this name a lot.
Yeah, this next game, man, Arkham Asylum. This is such a unique pick. One I wouldn't think we'd be playing for the cast for a long time, honestly. If you would have asked me when we first started, it seemed like a game that we would have picked up to play. I'm excited to talk about it. I have a lot to say. But clink, cheers. Let's take a sippers of this here. Yeah, that has got a little bit of funk to it, just a little bit.
Indeed,
I like it. It's a little sweet too.
I'm liking this one quite a bit.
Yeah,
very interesting.
Like a sweet, like when you get a bread that's not sweetened bread, but it's like that bready sweetness.
Yeah,
that's what this is.
Definitely. Interesting.
Yeah, I like this.
It's a funky IPA.
It's a funky IPA.
Well, it's not an IPA, but a pale ale with some.
It's a funky PA.
I like this. This is very good.
So I want you to take away some of this stuff, but I just want to kind
course.
of give the introduction here on your behalf. Tyler and I have taken two sides of this camp because we both played Arkham Asylum and City when they came out almost. I think I played City right when it came out.
Yeah, me too.
And
had that pre-ordered with that sick ass Batman statue.
dude, the
so
white
cool.
one?
Yeah.
Oh,
He was so cool.
so nice. Did you play I mean, next time you play City, it will be on Wii U though. I hope to hear.
I doubt it because
You're a
I
disgrace.
doubt there will be a next time.
No, but I mean, if it happens, will it happen on Wii U?
Well, because the PS4 version only runs at 30 and not 60, sure.
Gotta play that Wii U, baby.
Sure.
So yeah, all that to say, Batman, the Arkham games we played when we were younger. We didn't play Night, but I've always been on the City side of the camp, and Tyler's always been on the Asylum side of the camp.
Yes, very firmly.
And I still, to this day, will defend City because of its open world design. We've talked about its claustrophobia. It's kind of the tighter open world design. It's a unique game in such a saturated
Yeah, really.
space.
From what I can remember, there's nothing like it in terms of open world games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe Arkham Knight, which neither of us have played. Well, I'll talk about it in a moment because I did play a little bit on my lunch break. It's very interesting. It leaves a very strong first impression. But those games probably take after City quite a bit. But City is I think the most unique open world game I've ever played.
Yeah,
just the structure of the world,
and the side quests are like recurring, like they're long form. It's like serialized storytelling.
Yes,
like it's
very, very good.
It's very nice. I, however, have successfully been converted to Tyler's camp.
Okay.
Not for the first time. I think Asylum is the superior game. This does not come from a place of it being the first. You know, I'm the last person to defend something just because it was the first of something. But you have successfully converted me. And you had a pretty unique take on this. So why don't you explain your take?
Yeah, so I grew up playing Metroid Prime. I've played it, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, 7 times at this point, and absolutely love it. And I've never seen anything that comes as close to being a Metroid Prime successor as Batman Arkham Asylum. It has similar item gating, a lot of optional exploration. Every time you unlock a new item, there's a bunch of things that open up to you, new paths to take, new not really upgrades in the way Metroid Prime does, but puzzles to solve, things like that you get experience for, and we will talk about the experience in a bit. But upon this second play, this is my third playthrough, I think, because I did play it twice.
2 for me, I think.
Back when it came out.
This would be my second.
So it's been, what is that, 13 years?
You know what I don't remember
years?
at all was the Killer Croc section. I
don't know. Really?
What,
I remembered that vividly. Once it started, I was like, oh, I know exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, I
don't know why.
I don't know why that totally, like, it's almost as if, like, my brother played that section or something. Like, you know, I had handed the controller to him to play a little bit or something.
Interesting. What I didn't remember was the Poison Ivy stuff before you actually get to her.
Yeah.
Like, all the... When the plants break out of the botanical gardens, and there's just, like, pink and green and blue everywhere, just all over the place, all over the island. That's really interesting. It's a great use of color in this game.
Oh yeah,
it's a very colorful
especially for
game.
something that it's so muted.
Yeah,
you know, like it uses the color in really awesome ways.
Yeah,
it doesn't take the cop out of I'm a gritty story, and so I can just have a bunch of
and not just
colors.
a cop out, but like that was games at this time. They were all brown and ugly, and I feel like we're gonna be talking about that again,
which just makes sense why Uncharted 2 stood out so much. Like you get to Nepal and just the colors everywhere. You're like, this game is so beautiful.
Yeah. I watched a little bit of footage about Metal Gear Solid 4. It looks like
it's very interesting.
Definitely falls into that trap of being just brown. We'll see.
No, the
We'll see.
entire game. Sections that are not brown are brown. It's very intentional. Very intentional.
All right.
Especially if you start watching the promotional material, you'll get exactly what he's going for.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll be talking about it again when that comes around. But very interesting use of color here. Anyhow, back to Metroid Prime. There really isn't anything I think that comes this close to being Metroid Prime. But so many years later, coming back to it again, I see the concessions that it makes for, how do I phrase it without sounding like a jerk?
General audiences.
Yeah,
Like,
there we go.
Not idiots, just people who don't feel like putting a certain type of effort or time into something.
Yeah,
They want to play a video game.
and it's a video game,
And it's
video
so-
game ass video game.
It's such a good video game. though.
It is very good. It's got some pretty big shortcomings that we'll talk about, but
I would argue,
enjoyed.
I would argue though, like, I can look over them so easily.
Yeah,
Like, this
because
is
they're
a-
so short.
Yeah.
I enjoyed, I think, all of my time with this game. I'm happy I played it again. I can scratch this one off. I'll probably, I don't see myself ever playing it again, but playing it,
This
as
is
an
one I'll
adult-
have if my kids are into video games, I'll tell them to play this game.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this is
I
a game
probably
that-
won't pick it up myself. That's a caveat that should be made for any game I say that to. Anything on my shelf, but myself, just for the sake of having a good time, I probably won't play it again. But I'm so happy I did get to play it. Started the year off with this revisit here. Let's talk about. Oh, you mentioned our history with the series. Now,
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit.
yeah, I did, however, a couple days ago on my lunch break, boot up Arkham Knight. I picked it up at a pawn shop recently, and for I think $2. Anyway, booted it up on the PlayStation 5 and played for an hour. This game is absolutely gorgeous. The particle effects are out of control in this game. There is so much rain everywhere. I don't know really.
When did it come out? Was it 20?
I'm gonna pull this out of my
It's like
out of the
2018,
air.
isn't it?
No, I thought it was like 2016.
16?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting the even.
Wait.
post-15
15. I think 15.
15. That
Let's
sounds
see.
way more right.
Let's see. I'm gonna
sounds
pull it up
way
right
more
now.
right. Yeah, while you're doing that,
Anyway, no, I want to mention that game real quick. What an incredible first impression.
yeah, it's
For those that have not played it, have put it off because of some of the negative reception it got. I think we're far enough past that for you to be able to see it by itself, not really stacked up to the other two games. We are discrediting Arkham Origins, but so just removed from the other two games as a standalone game. It left such an incredible first impression on me. I'm not gonna give it the time over things like finishing Sable, we talked about in the last episode, or just a couple other things on my list. I'm not gonna make the time for it, but I do actively want to play it. It was so good. The opening just has the camera like a drop down view on Joker's like acid torn face, and he's being wheeled into a crematorium. He's going to be incinerated while Frank Sinatra is playing for the entire song. It's like something about like you're in my mind and now you're in my heart or something like that, and that's sort of setting up the whole game.
Yeah.
The whole reason Joker is still there in the game, and the whole song plays, and then you can just hold X to incinerate.
And Mark Hamill doesn't play Joker in
I
that
don't
one, right?
remember.
I don't think he does. I think that was post Joker retirement.
I don't think so, because he did. I don't know about retirement. I know he came back for the movie.
He did come back for the movie.
What was that called?
Killing Joke.
Killing Joke. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that was a
think-
good movie.
It's fine. I really love that comic.
I
So I have
haven't
pretty
seen
high
it.
standards. I have pretty high standards.
Fair enough.
For
It
it.
also gets started right away. There's
Yeah, that's
really no
nice.
build up. You're into the action. You're into the open world immediately, and I've never seen anything do this. Okay, how is it that only Batman has done this? A throwaway Batman game that no one seems to really like. There's a weapon wheel. Everyone knows what a weapon wheel does. In this one, you hold the down, arrow button, the directional pad, and you use the right stick to select your weapon. Well, there is a similar wheel for your mini-map. If you want to track a particular kind of encounter, a particular kind of challenge, if you want to track a specific supervillain, whatever you want to track, you hold the right button and select that kind of map marker, and that map marker is now active. Otherwise, it is deactivated. It's not cluttering up space. I don't think you ever have to open the map to really look at something, because the mini-map is quite nice. But a encounter wheel, it works flawlessly. Why is this not in every single video game with a mini-map?
It's wonderful question. Wonderful question.
Anyway, that's my brief time. Just an hour. Super solid first impression. I see what people are saying about the Batmobile, but that aside, that's not really why you want to be playing a Batman game. The Batmobile feels impeccable. It's so nice. So I would, just based on that hour, I'd recommend it. I would definitely recommend it.
I'm going to be honest with everyone here. I have no shame in admitting that's exactly why I want to play a Batman game, is to drive around in a Batmobile tank and murder everything.
Oh yeah, he's done. He's not trying to hide that he kills people anymore.
I love, dude, one of my favorite memes right now is just the videos that you see of Batman doesn't kill people as the title of the video. Yeah. And it's just like, obviously this man has just murdered this person. He threw him off a building, but it's like, no, he's not dead. He caught him or something. Like, if that's the implication. No. That person's dead. Yeah. Batman killed him.
He's angry now. Oh, and the main villain here, at least in the beginning, Red Hood is the ultimate villain.
One of the best villains in Batman, I would think. Anti-hero, whatever you want to call him. I think just a fantastic... Because Batman's all about guilt. So having Red Hood as basically the biggest embodiment of guilt in his
but all of that
gallery
is sort of enhanced by Scarecrow. He's let out his biggest toxin yet. The entire city has been evacuated. And so I think, I didn't get this far, I think that's why you're seeing so much of Joker. Like, that's the guilt you're riddled with. And the toxins are sort of drawing that out of you. And Joker sort of manifests that way. I would recommend playing that game. It seems great. It runs flawlessly on modern systems. Don't play it on PC. It's still broken. They took it down, then they put it back up a while later, supposedly not fixed. And just don't play it there. Play it on modern systems. Only 1080p, but 60 frames. It's beautiful. It's freaking beautiful. Let's move on from that part of the discussion into what we're actually talking about, Arkham Asylum. Tell us about it, Zach.
Yeah, so Tyler's big shtick with this was he was saying it's the only game that in large part is really working with what Metroid Prime had set up. What Metroid Prime was doing, he kind of, if you go back and listen to our stuff, you can hear him talk about it in a little bit more detail, maybe than we've iterated here. But I think it's important before we go much further to make the distinction that I think comes up a lot, and nobody really talks about it, is what separates a 3D Zelda game from a Metroidvania.
Okay.
I think this is something that a lot of people... Like, I've heard certain games called Metroidvanias, or even Metroid Prime inspired, that are just not. Like, Shadow Man? I really want to play Shadow Man.
I don't know why.
What? That game looks so fun.
I don't know much about it. It looks very, very rough.
You should watch a video on it.
I'm sure.
You should. It looks...
It's 2015, by the way.
So good. Yeah, that makes sense.
The release.
That's crazy. One person I was listening to called it a Metroid, like has a lot of Metroid elements. And I started thinking about it. I said, not really. And, I'm like, okay, well, you need to get an item in order to progress, to make progress in the game, and you use that item. It's not a key.
Yeah, that's true of pretty much any game.
It's a new pickup that you can use in combat and other places. It applies elsewhere on the overworld. it's technically has that, like, Metroid is built on those same things in a lot of ways. Like, the bare bones of it look like that. So I was like, well, no, they're definitely not the same. Like, it is an entirely different experience. So what is the distinction? So I got to thinking. Both requires new item to progress, and they both have emphasis on exploration with that item. Zelda, however, has a major focus on dungeons. That item is primarily useful in that dungeon. Whatever that item is doing, it is used for that dungeon. And when you go out, there are maybe a couple of places you can use in the overworld. It might lead to a heart piece or something. But you're exploring dungeons mostly. There is some stuff to explore and do in the overworld, but it's very apparent. Like, the overworld is just there to facilitate your immersion and to get from point A to point B a lot of the time. Majora's Mask does it brilliantly, where the temple is buried deep, deep, deep into these overworld sections that have their own little
they're as long as a dungeon sometimes themselves,
and they're fantastic.
Like the water dungeon is pretty short.
Yeah,
you can speedrun that in like 11 minutes.
Yeah, especially when you know what you're doing. Yeah.
Because I finally got to it and saved, and I had so little time left. I did finally learn how to speedrun that dungeon. Then stopped playing the game, unfortunately, soon after that. But yeah, I can finish it in like 12 minutes. Easy.
That's fantastic. It's an adventure game. Zelda's an adventure game. Metroid, I said, I'm not at the 3D Metroids yet, just a Metroidvania at this point. The focus is on exploration entirely. Every item calls to mind areas you've seen before. It'll lead towards a special upgrade or some sort of benefit or bonus of some kind. And there's far more of those scattered throughout the world. And the important part is it's on the player at that point. So it's on the player in Zelda games to use the item in the dungeon, but you have to use that item, and you need to use it here in this dungeon. Mm-hmm. In Metroid games, it's, oh, I saw that thing here and here. Let me go check out those two places again. It's on you, right? That it's putting that exploration focus on you. It's making you call to mind where it is. So even though the item is being used in Zelda games and games like them, and is even used for exploration in a couple spots, it's in the overworld, that's not how the game is built. In Metroid, the world, like, so Zelda builds puzzles and combats around its progression items, but Metroidvanias build the world around those things. That's what makes
that's
it
the biggest
stand out.
distinction,
And I think that's what it is. And so the question then is, okay, between these two, where does Arkham Asylum lead? And it's definitely more on the Metroid side, I'd say. There's no sort of like you pick up an item and now you're using it throughout this large space, and then it's not as useful throughout. The world is very much built to have, oh, I remember seeing a brittle wall here, or seeing this, like, It's doing a lot lighter, but it is doing a lot of that to the player.
Definitely lighter, and there's a lot of the structure of the game world that would have easily accommodated that sort of gameplay, that sort of just game design, but unfortunately, it didn't. It chose to appeal to a broader audience. And I don't think it couldn't have been that. Like, I think they knew exactly what they could have done and either were told to or chose to go a different direction, unfortunately.
So then the next question is, what makes this more inspired by Metroid Prime than what we would say is a Metroid game? Like just a 2D Metroid game, like Dread or something.
Because
it came out before Dread, Zach.
Yeah, correct. No, because it is focused on the entire game world rather than any one space.
Yeah.
You're going back to these spaces all the time. Pretty much every time you get a new item, you're having to go to backtrack through a bunch of places. Anytime you encounter a new enemy, things have changed in the world. Yeah. The biggest being... there are two pretty big ones. With Harley Quinn, you get the crazies that are released everywhere, and then
dude, the way he takes them down is so awesome.
It's brutal.
So awesome.
It's brutal. And then with Poison Ivy, the vines are everywhere. Some places are blocked off. There's new enemy types that are matched up with others, and you just have to take new paths.
Totally agree. And then that transition from 2D to 3D, I think because Metroid Prime did it so well, people don't acknowledge that making that transition, taking a 2D Metroid game and the things that made it a Metroid game, and putting it in 3D isn't just putting it in 3D. You have to fundamentally figure out how these things work in a three-dimensional space. It's an entirely different design philosophy, but that's trying to get you to the same experience. Two totally different spots that get you toward a similar thing in the middle. That's why that game is considered a masterpiece, in like many other reasons. But that's a huge reason. What an accomplishment. And the fact that people can forget that and go, oh yeah, like what makes it different? That's how good of a job they did with Metroid Prime.
And a big part of Metroid is also the Metroid Prime specifically, though sure Metroid 2, though you know better than I, is the sequence breaking might be the wrong is not what I'm looking for, but in Metroid Prime, once you get the morph ball, you can immediately leave and go get the double jump, right? Like it's next to your ship. The double jump is next to your ship in a little alcove that you have to use the morph ball to go through.
I think you need boost ball. I'm not sure though. It's been a while since I've played Metroid Prime 1. I'd say,
but even then, the boost ball's not too far off. The boost ball is.
Isn't it Fendara Drifts though?
No, the boost ball's in the first area. You just don't get it for a while because you need the.
Oh, okay.
It's those like big beetle things.
I love those things will never leave my brain.
Yeah,
like,
they look like Tremor. You haven't seen Tremors 2, right?
No,
or 3.
I need to watch all of them.
Yes. No, there's 8 of them, I think.
Let's do it.
No, just the first 3. I'll watch up to the first 3. But the I think it's in there. That's the
no. I refuse to. 3 is still a masterpiece, but then you get 4, and it's a B movie after that.
They are some of the best B movies. I love Tremors 1 and 2. 3's just stupid. It knows exactly what it is. I mean, they all do, but 3 really
leans into it.
Really takes a turn. Oh, it's so weird. Anyhow, I just want to go back to the morph ball. See if I remember this map correctly. In the first area, what is that place called? The dusty, deserty area? Anyway, you go in there, and the you've got that first open world. There's like 3 doors around you, and that the world is opening up to you.
Ruins, Coast of Ruins.
That sounds right. Like that. And then up top is where you go to the boss.
Do you remember when you fight Flagra?
Yeah, Flagra. So under Flagra is where those.
What? How is it so good? It's like
so good.
The spectacle without compromising the feel like you're fighting something.
Yeah.
Like, eat your heart out, God of War. Like, wow, that's so a good moment.
Anyway,
that's nothing against God of War. God of War is incredible. God of War 3 in particular that's a stunning video game.
Yes.
It's really good stuff. Anyway, you said it before I did, so I don't want to take your credit. But Tyler called it Metroid Prime Lite. And I think that's perfect. The environments and use cases for your tools are simple to see. The rewards are very simple too, though. You won't find anything so rewarding as an energy tank or a secret missile upgrade. Right? It relies on the RPG elements to give you those things. And if it was truly digging in, it would truly be a Metroid Prime successor. I think even despite the more light elements, if you got your suit upgrades and new batarangs from exploring the environment, and they're optional.
And they already have the foundation to do that.
Sorry, I meant to say they don't even have to be optional, is what I was going to say.
Yeah. This had to have been sort of a publisher mandate, incorporate experience in leveling up, because he has an entire Batcave already on the island. You could, well, I don't really like gathering resources for every single game, but you could bring things to put into some sort of machine, or just have other like bat safe houses around the entire island. The foundation is there. Like, the narrative conceit is already there.
Or Riddler hid them. Like, I mean, it's so easy. Like, Riddler's playing a game with you and he hid some of your stuff.
Oh, yeah. He found the Batcave.
And then make that your, like, the Riddler puzzles or whatever. There's so many ways you could have done it.
Yeah. All of the optional stuff just gives you some experience.
Yeah. And, like, or Riddler trophy, some sort of bonus content of some kind.
Yeah. But all of that gives you, I guess, yeah, you've got plenty of, being a comic book game, this is pretty common for comic book games. You've got a lot of the lore that's in there. You get character bios and everything.
Little recordings of
but
the
they all give you experience every time you pick something up. That's what I mean. Yes, you do get bonus content. Absolutely. but not bonus gameplay.
But it's like it's very much contemporary rewards, very much contemporary game design rewards, where it's not genuinely rewarding. Do you remember the first time you found any of the optional super missile upgrades in Metroid Prime for one of the other beams?
No, I don't.
I remember the first time I found one
recall them
vividly. I found the flamethrower.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You power bomb.
Yeah, I know where that.
You power bomb a certain a bridge. It's very much a reference to Super Metroid. And I had bombed it, and I found it, and I was like, what is it? What's happening? And I took it to Ridley and just blasted his face off.
I do remember that.
Oh my gosh! Like, I did that when I was 10. And I'm talking about it right now. You see what I mean? Like, that is just powerful.
And they just chose not to do it. It's all there.
It's a real shame.
It all could have been happening.
Yeah, like you said earlier, the world design is already built like that. They could have really, really tapped into that.
Yeah. And something else that they don't do well at all is incorporate any of your kit. Oh, this is even more to the point that they could have done all this, because in the next game they did this. One of the best boss fights in video games.
Yeah, absolutely.
I looked to see how it was way too far along in the game, or else I would have tried to, play through.
Yeah, it's
to
like
Mr.
more
Freeze
than halfway
again.
through.
It's almost the end. I think
Almost
he's
the end.
Yeah, I looked at the guide. I think he's the last thing you do before the final stretch. It's just all
makes
Joker
sense.
stuff.
So you have most of your kit.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And you use all of it.
Yeah, if it's hard mode, you have to use all. Like, there are 12 different ways to hurt him, right? And you have to hit all of them.
I don't remember.
Yeah, something like that.
It's been a long time. But anyway, Mr. Freeze, like that shows extremely competent game design. And they didn't do anything close to that here. These boss fights are laughable.
The worst
at
part
best.
of the game.
Yeah,
I would say
and some of the worst
are
boss fights I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Like the final fight with Joker is just nonsense, and then with Poison Ivy,
and it's not even engaging. He's just up there like taunting, and it's just like, what do you? I don't believe any of this is actually happening. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's very stupid. And then the big
His
one that
is hilarious.
They really could have incorporated some of that, as I mentioned, competent game design is with Poison Ivy. And they didn't. It's the dumbest fight. You literally
when in doubt,
throw
the
batarangs.
batarang.
Yeah,
when
you
doubt,
just got an item. Like the previous thing you did.
The coolest item in the game.
You get my favorite item is actually the line.
That's what I was talking about. Isn't it the line, the one you get?
No, the reinforced.
Oh, that's right. No, the line is my favorite by far.
Yeah, the line is so cool.
Like, that's just.
And you already have those things in Arkham Knight. You already have the bombs and the individual explosions.
Oh,
you got the line.
One of the best additions in City is you can dodge and drop paint the bomb on the ground.
Yeah, that's
your dodge
really good.
and blow people up.
I also like in City when you don't have this unlocked in the beginning of Arkham Knight, but the launch. You can press a button while you're using your grappling hook to then fleeing off of wherever you land.
So fun.
You don't have that immediately in Arkham Knight.
That's a shame.
But you've got the remote control batarang, you've got the line launcher, you've got the individual gels, and I think the reinforced hook. I don't remember. But anyway, you just got the reinforced hook before you fight Poison Ivy, and she's in this giant tentacle plant. She's encased in its pod, and you have
How do we make Poison Ivy a video game boss? The design.
Yeah, it's very juvenile, but she's encased in this pod that occasionally opens once you deal enough menial damage to it with your batarang. It opens and you throw a batarang and do the maximum amount of damage. Why are you not using the item you just got to pull off that shell? Yeah. Or some of the petals, if they're huge leaves or something, you use that, then you pull her out, deal some damage while you're also dodging tentacles that are trying to pick her back up and put her back in the pod, and then they do that and you do it again 3 times. That right there, I just literally pulled that out of my ass.
Yeah. Sorry, just now when you try to copy Flagra, this is Flagra Light.
Correct. It could have been so easy to make an actually good and engaging fight.
Yeah.
But none of them are.
Also, though, I love this is, you know, my favorite piece of game design from this game
Pray tell.
is when right after you get the line launcher, the first thing they let you do is a bunch of thugs amass on the other side of they know what you want to do with this thing.
Yes, of course.
So they let you do it. You take the line launcher, and he just like spider leg splays around, kicking all these guys as he passes through them.
Oh, but also they're like, oh, what are you gonna do, Batman? You wave. Oh no, he's coming.
And they all stay standing there. These big meatheads. It's just.
Oh, but also with the hook,
good.
they know exactly what you want to do with the hook as well. You pull down this. You've got to get up to a spot. You have to pull down the weakened wall with all 3 hooks.
Yeah.
And then 3 guys come and stand over like, oh, look, it's Batman. And of course, you can hook all 3 of them and pull them off. Just go right up there.
It's so good. Yeah, anytime it goes, oh, look, it's Batman. And then you're like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
This is going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fun to make them afraid, too, while you're picking them off. Like, just a little, like, what a good touch, little heartbeat monitors and, like, whether they're afraid and stuff. It's just a good little touch.
It's very good.
Makes you feel.
Makes you
like
really
Batman.
feel like Batman.
You know, as funny as that is, like,
It does make you, forgive us, it does make you feel like Batman.
And
I have never wanted to walk so much in a video game. I actively did not run in this game because walking feels so good.
Yeah,
and also all of the like stuff I typically don't like in games like this. I don't like it all in games like this. Is when you've got markers on the floor, you've got mini-map markers and whatever. Batman just does all this. It all feels correct to have basically a guide on the floor of, oh look, this is this person's scent or whatever. It all makes complete sense, and because it makes sense, never pulled me out.
Yeah.
It's very
and
good.
you know, it's so common with superhero games because that's what the immersion is so front facing. Like, that's such an obvious goal of the game, is to immerse you in it. So that's why it gets brought up a lot. And I think there's been too much of a backlash. Like, sure, they should be explaining how it does it, you know, like Tyler just did. He explained the walk and how much time was put in that animation, and the true star of the show, the cape physics. I mean, I was all aflutter, like a teenage schoolgirl. I was just enamored. Amanda, she had to tell me, she was watching me play this whole game, and she had to tell me, Zach, are you gonna go anywhere? And I'm just like walking back and forth, like basically trying to get Batman to shimmy. You know, like it's just the cape is so good. So I get it. It's easy to poke fun at, but you know, these games, it is a huge forward-facing element. People are playing these because they want to feel like they're comic book hero, and how they do that, I think it's a lot harder than I bet I could ever imagine to really get the weight of moving around and how everything looks, and the overall presentation of the game. It's a lot to respect. It really is.
I again very happy I got to play it again. It holds up very well. It plays. I don't know why it doesn't run at 60 on these consoles, but it plays very well. It's preserved very nicely with the return to Arkham, which is the way we played it, by the way. I don't know if that really matters.
That's a good point.
But it's preserved very nicely on these consoles. If you're interested, pick them up. I don't really see them getting very much cheaper. You can maybe get it $15 or $20 right now. This is not going to be a bargain bin $9 game, so might as well go pick it up, give it a try. If you have not already, there's such a legacy with this game, which we've not talked about. The legacy of Arkham Asylum is probably the most, I think, next to Dark Souls, the most influential game of the 2010s. And I say 2010s because it came out in 2009. No, its influence was in the 2010s.
I would say, excluding anything like Minecraft or Fortnite. Yeah, I'd agree.
Fortnite, yeah.
I think Overwatch could also go in that bin, too.
Okay. Overwatch, Fortnite, Dark Souls, Minecraft, Arkham Asylum.
I think that's a great
top five right there.
That's a great 5 right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Even you got to make that caveat. I know it came out in 2009,
But like all the games
but
that
just like
felt its influence.
yeah, like you didn't see Breath of the Wild's influence until last year.
Yeah, Phoenix and
Sable.
yeah, Phoenix, Sable. I wonder what else.
I don't think anything yet.
Yeah, I wonder if we're truly gonna get anything that takes what really made that game special and run with it. It's a hard ask.
Sable.
It's a hard ask. Yeah, I want to play Sable so bad. So bad.
Do it. You said you just installed it.
Yeah, it's currently installed. It's currently installed.
Let's
Let's talk about Arkham Asylum a little more because I want to.
Let's. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I like talking about it. So the first thing I wrote here, level design is tight. That's what it says on my notes.
This
here.
is correct.
It is though. The level design is so clean, and every time you enter a room, there's always just one new little way. You get a little idea, like I wonder if I could take out these 6 guards like that. Mm-hmm. And the guards are difficult enough when they're guns and stuff. Like it's
you'll die easy. With guns.
It is a challenging enough game to where you have to think. That's one of the things I respect about any kind of open immersive game. And again, this has some it's all light, LITE, like light versions, but you get the seeds of something that genuine player creativity is happening here.
A Batman immersive sim.
That'd be incredible.
Makes sense.
Just
do it already.
Get the guys who made. Why am I blanking?
Arcane.
Deus Ex, or Arcane, yeah. Or
they don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you mean the current Deus Ex?
Yeah, like the Human Revolution. Eidos Montreal,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I want to say Crystal Dynamics. Why did I want to say Crystal Dynamics?
Are they involved with WB at all?
I don't think so. They're doing all the Marvel stuff, aren't they?
No, that was Crystal Dynamics, right?
See, I get these guys mixed up all the time because didn't Eidos do the Tomb Raider reboot and then they handed the last one off to Crystal?
That sounds right.
Okay, that's why I get them mixed up.
No, wait. We're going to take a pause right now because we both have to know.
Yeah.
Let's see. What was the first Tomb Raider called?
Isn't it just Tomb Raider? Or Rise of the Tomb Raider?
That sounds
Tomb
right.
Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider?
Rise of the Tomb Raider
well,
sounds
they
right.
would have made... I'm pretty sure it's the first 2 are the same, and then the third was handed
correct.
down. And I'm almost positive 3 was Crystal Dynamics.
Rise of the Tomb Raider, 2015. That's the second one. Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal. They're both listed here.
That's dumb.
Yeah, whatever.
I hate you, Wikipedia. Whatever. I'm pretty sure Eidos Montreal is the guys who made the Deus Ex Human Revolution and
yeah. I every time this comes up, I ask, have you seen the live action trailer for Human Revolution?
No.
Okay, we'll watch it as soon as we're done with this. Please remind me. It's absolutely incredible.
I bet it is. It's going to be one of my all-time favorite games. I already know it. It's just a matter of me playing it, really, and giving it the proper time. But I will wait for you to play that one. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's getting way ahead. So you've got a wife that plays games.
Yeah, it makes it easier.
So that's very nice. I only play games for the cast. Very rarely am I able to pick something else up. Though we are taking a step back. I know this is 2 games in this episode. We are sort of taking a step back, going to be 1 game per episode moving forward for a while. So I should be able to fit some other stuff in there. Eidos, by the way, Montreal made the Deus Ex games. Yes, that just makes sense. That's probably basically a Batman game anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. It would just be so cool, but those are here. I had some genuine creative moments of, I would call even, I would even go so far as to call it emergent in some cases.
In some cases, yeah.
Yeah, and the systems are there. Again, it's light, but the level design of what facilitates that. It really is. The way the guards move, the spaces you're allowed to move in. They don't even tell you when they introduce a hatch. Like the hatch idea where you can crouch down and go through. There's no tutorial. It's just, there's one in this room now. What's the first thing any player's going to do? Oh, but what's the hatch down there? They're going to go down there and get in there like, oh, they don't even see me right now. Oh, they're going down, boy. They get so excited.
They don't tell you how to do a inverted takedown as well.
Where you just... wrap them up. It's
well, you got to run away quick. He's like, "Oh, he got me!" No.
Yeah, it's so good. And really every room is unique. Almost every room.
The final room, with a bunch of guards in it, right after you get the the
You're talking about
like
the
triple
three-prong
the
grapple
3-prong grapple.
I was
There's
thinking
like
of the same
6
room.
of them in
There's
that
2
room.
up in the little
Yeah, there's
little-
one on the window and the floor of this
Yep.
like control room that these guys are in, and then there's ones
Absolutely.
all around the environment. That one took me a while. That was pretty
And
hard.
that's probably one of my favorite ones. Too. There's
It's
so
very,
many
very
things you
good.
can do. You can like blow the floor out on top of them on
Yeah.
some spots, and it's just really fun. It's really fun, and the level design got so much attention here, and even the exploration level design when you're just trying to figure out where to go through an environment. Even that feels good, and it's never too long. I've never once felt like I was just banging my head against what am I supposed to do right now.
Mm-hmm.
It eventually came out, and I went there, and then boom, there's a new combat encounter, a new stealth takedown room. Really, I mean, just kudos. No Batman game after this, I'm sure, comes close to this level of design. You can't in an open world. You just can't. And
well, I would like to give it another try because the open world is so unique in Arkham City. It's so tight and claustrophobic. I bet there are some moments.
The opening
that are
really
good.
drags. I was trying to. That was gonna be the next game I was gonna play with Amanda. Was Arkham City, and the first 2 hours I was like, and there's so many more RPG things where you have to upgrade this, unlock this move, do this thing, and I was like, I don't have patience for this right now.
I recommend you pick up Arkham City. Arkham Knight, because it again opens immediately, and
I'll try.
While the major villain in the beginning is Scarecrow, the first villain you chase down, you can chase down because again, like in Arkham City, I think they're doing the sort of serialized side quests.
Nice.
You can just choose to track Edward Nigma, and I would imagine he's going to get away from this encounter, and you continue tracking him. I think that's how that format's going to be.
Yeah.
But really, give it a shot. I'd love to hear what you think about it. I don't see myself making time for it, but I was so blown away by that first hour.
Next for Amanda and me is going to be the first American McGee's Alice, because we just played Madness Returns together. We both really liked that, so we're going to go. Which, did you get my text? You can just download that for free. Alice 1 right now. If you have Madness Returns, you put the disc in, you open up the menu, you open up the game, and at the bottom is American McGee's Alice, and you click on it, and it takes you to the PS Store, and because you have Madness Returns, it gave it to me for free.
On PS3.
On PS3.
Cool. Yeah.
You currently cannot get it on PC, the Origin Store, even with the deluxe edition of Alice Madness Returns, which is supposed to have the original game. Origin no longer offers it. You can't get it that way anymore. Really, this is currently, until the PS3 store is shut down, this is the only way to play it.
Interesting.
And then once
you could buy a disc copy.
I was about to say, you could buy a disc copy and
I've
try to
got
get it
one.
to work. Try to get it to work on a modern
Yeah.
computer. You could do that, or you just emulate it. I'm not gonna judge you.
Yeah.
It's EA's fault.
Yeah, if it's not available anywhere, I don't really care very much.
I was thinking about picking up the Xbox 360 version of Battle for Middle Earth 2, just to have but they don't have the Rise of the Witch King expansion, and I couldn't get it, so I'll continue breaking the law to play that game.
I found myself looking at a bunch of multi-platform games that I already have on PS3 to see if they have improvements on Xbox One X. Because I'm just moving in that direction, unless it's an exclusive. If it has,
most of my PS3s are exclusive.
Not even if it has an upgrade, even if it doesn't have an upgrade, because it will play.
Yeah, because
it just plays.
Yeah,
with very
super nice.
very few exceptions. So I've found myself moving in that direction from.
I already have so many PS3 though. I don't know if I'll do that.
Yeah, but a ton of them aren't multi-platform.
I meant regressively.
Anyway.
I mean, I'll probably buy Xbox moving forward, but
yeah,
I don't think I'll go back and over.
You
But
don't have that many. Those are mostly all exclusives.
Yeah, mostly all exclusives.
Well, maybe.
I'd say
like Red Dead Redemption. You can play that right now, and you can't get it on PC. That's the best place to play it, is on 360.
Yeah.
On the One X.
I don't know. The Sly games, Tales of Graces, the Uncharted, Drakengard, God of War, Metal Gear.
Yeah, you got a lot of exclusives,
I'd
but
say about
also
50-50.
plenty of
50-50 probably.
Yeah. What's it called? Rainbow Six. That one.
I think I have that on 360 actually.
Anyhow.
Yeah, I do.
On.
I have it on 360 as well.
Cool.
I really like Rainbow Six Vegas too, guys. That's a great game.
I'm sure. I've never played it.
Anyway, Anyway, I need to talk about Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Because I had totally blocked out these moments from this game. They were totally surprises to me. And I cannot tell you how special. This probably, I know it's only February, probably going to come up on our best moments.
Really?
Is when Scarecrow, so the Scarecrow moments are, first of all, you know, you fall, you lose platforming sections, which are usually the worst things in the whole world. Usually, especially in a game that's not... It's weird how much of this game is platforming. And it's a 3D platformer in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's plenty of it.
It's very interesting. And so to have a boss that is a platforming boss is a good touch. Usually extremely frustrating, especially in a game where all the bosses suck.
Yeah.
This game makes up for that by if you fall, you just hit your grapple button, boom, you start right back. No game over screen, no nothing. You're just right back at it, trying to get through. And you think that'd ruin the tension, but usually the build up to the Scarecrow moment is so well done, you're hooked. Unless you're dying like 4 or 5 times in a row, like 1 or 2 deaths is not going to get in the way of this experience working. I was very impressed. And my 2 favorite moments were you enter this morgue room and you're trying to find out where to go next, and there's nowhere to go. And I was getting a little frustrated. I was like, okay, well, like, I use my detective vision. I don't see anything where to do. And you turn around to leave, and that's where you're supposed to go. You're supposed to turn around and leave the morgue, and you go into another morgue. It's really well done moment. Plays on your frustration. It's like, oh, that's really good. That then builds, though. That builds into the best moment where they have flipped the roles. You're Joker walking Batman, who's bound up.
So good.
And he's bound up and he's being wheeled down. The same thing that happened, just inverse.
The exact same opening.
And he puts a gun up to your head, and he's like, "Oh, he's insane!" Like, and he's like, "Yeah, we got to kill him." And so he shoots you. And as if you were supposed to move out of the way, and you get a game over screen. I was indignant.
And legitimate game over screen. It even tells you, press this button to stop him from shooting you.
Yeah.
It's an official game over screen.
Yeah, and I was just like, this is bullcrap. I was so frustrated. I was so mad. I'm like, I didn't know. They're going to make you redo this whole sequence again. But then it leads right into the next scene of the game. There's no, like, you know, it was scripted. But it sold me, and I was so pissed. And
perfect.
It's just it gets you so involved in that moment, and yeah, like when you can sync up the player's emotions with the player character, just way to go.
Yeah,
way to go. Yeah. What a good.
I'd like
moment.
to know if they double down on that stuff in Arkham Knight, since he's such a big part of it. In the beginning.
Redesigned most of the cast in Arkham Knight, don't they?
Ivy's the same. What's the name? Scarecrow has at least a different mask. I haven't seen his hand. His mask makes a little more sense.
The hand,
yeah,
his needle hand.
Yeah,
he's Scarecrow. Give him a Freddy Krueger hand. Like, that's what he's needed this whole time. It's okay.
Yeah,
I told you I watched Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 2 recently, right? For the first time ever. Those are both very... I like 2
fantastic.
Maybe better.
Now...
That's not true.
Watch 3. It's fun. It's super campy. But watch 7.
Yeah, your New Nightmare, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll preach about New Nightmare all the freaking time.
I'm putting it off until I watch 3, at least. I want to watch 3. Have a little more context.
I've not seen 4, 5, and 6. I probably won't watch them. But I've seen 1 through 3. Seen 1 a few times, and 7, New Nightmare. Probably
I think 2 is incredible.
5 times.
I think 2 is on par with... I think 1 has the edge of Wes Craven's talent and the visuals he brings and the emotions. I think are not the emotions. The visuals he brings and the atmosphere is just unbeatable. You can't beat it.
I forget. Do you know about New Nightmare?
Yeah, I know. I unfortunately know most things about New Nightmare.
Okay.
But 2, I was so much more emotionally invested in the character in 2. Like the main character in New Nightmare, not New Nightmare, in Freddy's Revenge, or I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Because
he is so much more engaging as a character. He's going through a lot more that is less manufactured. Like, it's very emotional, and it's not him crying out of fear or crying out of, like, he's genuinely just having like the worst time. And going through so much.
I like a lot about 2, and I bet the reason that is, you like the character in 2 more, is because that's an actual main character. From what it's been a while since I've watched both of them, but I definitely remember that being a legitimate main character. Whereas it felt like in the first one, the main character was there to facilitate everything, but you have a whole cast of high school students.
Yeah, and I mean Johnny Depp's character is great.
Yeah, and they all get pretty good screen time.
Yeah.
Of course, there is the main character, but she's more of a facilitator.
She's just cool.
Yeah.
Like, she's just cool. I like her.
Rather than it really being all about that one
Yeah.
character.
And yeah, anyway, I'm on board now. I like A Nightmare on Elm Street. I watched a bunch of classic horror movies this last year. And aside from Wicker Man, I think Nightmare might be the one I liked. No. It's Wicker Man, Chainsaw, then Nightmare.
You watched Chainsaw for the first time?
Yeah, I'd never seen Chainsaw.
Whoa, why didn't you invite me over? Or Oliver?
It's just because Amanda wanted to watch it, so I was like, yeah, sure, why not?
What about Midsommar?
We watched Midsommar. That was incredible.
I know.
I'm talking classics though. Like,
classic. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'm talking classics.
So back to Scarecrow. I'd really like to know if they double down on this game because one, it's rated M, and they're not as shy. I think it's a much more gritty game in Arkham Knight. So
I did not remember that it was rated M.
I could be wrong. Actually, I very well could be wrong.
No, that seems to be correct. I seem to remember it being that. Oh man.
But also, speaking of Scarecrow, I forgot to mention in the opening, just more to the, the incredible first impression. There's a first person diner sequence in which you play a cop.
Oh, I've seen that. I have seen that. It's awesome.
So good.
That's
dude.
awesome.
Maybe I will play it. It was so surprising because I've only heard bad things about this game.
Well, aren't both Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and Gotham Knights slated for this year?
I'm sorry. One more time.
Isn't Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and aren't that game and the Gotham Knights slated for this year?
I think so. That sounds right.
Or at least one of them. I mean,
yes, it's rated M.
Yeah,
by the way.
Interesting. That's interesting. That makes
blood, suggestive themes,
violence,
and whatever that is. That's covered up. Yeah, it's language.
Yeah, that's. I love how it's not like crass language, harsh language, just language. This has a language in it. They speak English. Ew. That's freaking cool. Yeah, I should play this game. This looks awesome.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
It might be a good opportunity to play it if we want to do one of those games this year.
Yeah, I would be more interested in. Well, I don't know. I was gonna say Suicide Squad, but I'm not.
Whichever one Rocksteady's doing, which I think is Suicide Squad.
Possibly. I don't know. What is it?
Arkham
Knights. Arkham Knights. Gotham Knights. I am not particularly interested in that for the gameplay. It looks kind of boring.
Court of Owls.
It's the Court
I
of
know,
Owls, man.
That's got to be one of the best arcs.
Yeah, we'll probably have to play it.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm more excited for whichever one Rocksteady's working on, which is Suicide Squad, and they've confirmed it will be single player if desired.
Yeah,
which is a huge thing. We'll see if they make the same mistakes as Square.
We'll see.
Combat I have listed here. I like it. Actually, like it better. We talked about this. I like it better than the snappier, more clean. Because it's
very deliberate.
Yeah, if you miss input, you're gonna get hit. Like you're stuck. It's very slow. You deliberate, absolutely. And I prefer that. It's just made it matter a little more. It makes Batman feel like Batman. Like he's still a dude.
Yeah. I mean, that was immediately apparent in the first hour I played of Arkham Knight. It's so fluid. Because, again, it starts immediately. You're just in a horde of enemies. And with Arkham Knight, Arkham Asylum, even when you have your full kit, you've got a few upgrades and stuff, you really have to pay attention to exactly what your inputs are. You're not just... Even though it looks like it, you're not just smashing the button.
And you might hit fast, or your next hit might be a big slow one. So you can't guarantee, like, if I hit the attack button, it's going to hit this guy faster than he can initiate his attack.
Yeah.
Right? If you hit the attack button and then he starts attacking and you haven't hit the counter, Batman might just do his quick punch, but he might already have done that. So now he's going into a big roundhouse or something, and so he's going to get hit. Like, yeah. I actually like that. I think it works well.
Animations are awesome.
Yeah.
in the subsequent games.
Oh yeah. I'm sure
they're a little hit and miss in this game.
Oh yeah, especially if you're like next
animations.
to a wall or something.
Yeah.
Like your foot's going through both the guy's head and the wall. Yeah. And then it just
Oh,
cuts-
the ragdoll physics are so silly. And all of them just like grab their head. Oh,
it's fantastic.
it's very silly.
Yeah, it's absolutely another staple of Metroid. Atmosphere. I think the atmosphere in this game is very finely tailored.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is extremely, just perfectly placed. The asset designers deserve like 8 million awards. Some of these assets
It
look
won a lot of
gorgeous.
awards.
Yeah, they all deserve it. It looks so pretty.
Yeah.
Like the design of these things that you're looking at. Yeah, everything's so meticulously placed. I think it's fantastic. One thing I wanted to mention is the writing. Like the plot's a plot. You know, it's a plot of a video game. But it's definitely helped by having Mark Hamill and the I always forget his name.
Always forget.
Bruce Timm or something? I don't remember.
I couldn't tell you.
But his I don't remember. I was saying Bruce probably just because it's Batman. But the something Tim maybe Tim whatever.
Bro,
Bob
I
Kane.
don't know.
No, Bob Kane. Never mind. Anyway, I'm obviously all over the place. But his voice from the original animated series,
Mm-hmm.
the 90s animated series, that helps so much. So much. And a lot of the kind of classic video game voice acting crew here. Lots of voices you'll recognize even if you can't pin the names. But some of the like interactions, like the dialogue is often very well written, very like snappy, and like it'll have its moments where it's just facilitating. But it has these moments where it's like really snappy, like him talking to Oracle, or like, you know, just going back and forth with Jim. My favorite line in the game is you know, the usual like, Joker, why are you doing this, blah blah blah, you know, the usual stuff. And Joker's just like, for once I wanted you to see the world as I see it, giggling and bleeding in a corner. And it's just like these, you're like, wow, that's good writing.
Really, really good.
So it hits every once in a while, and you're like, oh, this is based on some really good stuff, you know? And it shines through every once in a while. I liked that. Talked about the bosses. They're crap.
There's plenty of really good, just throwaway, lines of dialogue in comics. There's even between arcs in that the Batman series with Court of Owls, there were like 4 issues from a different artist. I even think a different writer. The artist and writer were working on the next arc, and Bruce Wayne is being Bruce Wayne less and less, and that's becoming apparent through this little mini arc just written by somebody else, and it culminates in a fight with Mr. Freeze, and Mr. Freeze is trying to find Bruce Wayne. He's trying to kill Bruce Wayne for whatever reason. Doesn't know that he's Batman. And, you know, people are sort of asking Bruce the question, people that know him, like he needs to step away from Batman a bit. He's becoming Batman too much. And Mr. Freeze calls him out, like, where's Bruce Wayne? I need to find Bruce Wayne. And he stops and like has this introspective moment and realizes Bruce Wayne is very far from here. And just becomes Batman fully. Like, doesn't even care that he is.
That's
Bruce
so
Wayne.
cool.
Bruce Wayne is very
That's
far
awesome.
from here.
I like that a lot. Yeah, comics are so more and more they're being more valued, but even now I think it's very undervalued in a scholarly landscape, in a kind of preservation landscape. Still more undervalued than they need to be.
Yeah.
There's everybody, any literature professor tell you, yes, Watchmen's one of the most important works of all time, but they'll give a little hand wave.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, no. Watchmen is one of the most important works of the 20th century, period. Done. Everything included. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just that good. God bless you, Alan Moore. God bless you.
Indeed. I gotta read his Swamp Thing. I love Swamp Thing.
Me too. I've put it off for way too long.
Well, I
That's
think
it,
we're
yeah.
wrapping up here. We already talked about bosses.
Bosses.
They were bad. Listen, guys, this is a good game. I'm so happy we revisited it. I'm glad you liked it because you didn't finish it before, right?
No, I finished it.
Okay.
There were obviously gaps, though. There were gaps, like things I didn't remember. And I genuinely think it's because I didn't play them. Like I'm pretty sure like maybe Nick was playing the Killer Croc part or something.
Okay.
Like I do not remember anything about that.
Okay.
Maybe I just blocked it out of my mind.
Yeah, it's not the best.
It's rough. That might be one of my least favorite parts of the game.
It probably is the worst part in the game, but it isn't very because
They're
he's so
hitting him
easy.
and hitting him, and he just
Yeah, you hit him. So for those that don't know, there's you're down in the sewers, and there are wood crates floating that you walk on. You have to walk very slowly through such a winding maze. And like it's not a difficult maze to wrap your head around, but the point is to be quiet and walk slowly. It's huge. It's terrible. You can run. It doesn't matter because you just have your batarang ready, and the second he pops out, you throw it, and he falls again immediately.
And he
like
grips his neck. He grips his neck, and literally, like as if it's a middle school play. He like falls off, like stiff, into the water again.
It's really terrible.
So bad. Isn't he in? I really. I'll look it up here in a little bit, but I really like his design in Arkham Knight. I think I've seen it. It looks.
Oh, really?
Really cool. I like it way better than this one. This one's fine. It's passable. It's Killer Croc, But I seem to remember really liking what I saw of the Arkham Knight design.
I have not seen it. But
yeah, that.
Oh,
that
very
looks
interesting.
much better.
Very, very interesting. Go play it, guys. Give it a revisit. If you've not played it since its release, definitely check out Arkham Asylum again. The best way to play it is, well, I mean, you play it on PC, but playing it on consoles is great. If you listen to this cast, I'm a stickler for 60 frames. These run at 30 frames on the current consoles. I couldn't tell you that if I didn't look it up and read it. It's incredibly smooth. I didn't notice any dips. I didn't even notice it was running at 30. It's many games you can tell are running at 30. Even if it is a consistent 30, you can tell just based on the way the animation is implemented or whatever. I don't know. But you can tell it's 30. I couldn't tell here at all. I wouldn't have known if I didn't look it up first. So great way to play it. I recommend it. Absolutely. Anything else, Zach?
No, you're a lovely person. Thank you for making me realize Arkham Asylum is the superior game.
I'm very, very happy I could do that. But now I'm super interested in Arkham Knight. Let's maybe, try to find time for that later this year. Goodness gracious, that beer's getting to me. Stay tuned, folks. Thank you for joining us. We finally coming back from our game of the year, starting our series and whatnot for 2022. Next week we're going to be here with Pokemon Legends, and instead of beer, we're going to have milk and Oreos.
Yes, I'm so happy.
We are, because a couple months ago, yes, you guys are probably going to
need some milk.
You're probably going to go to a farmer's market, get some pretentious milk.
No. I'm probably just going to buy some normal whole milk.
Okay.
But I mean, if I have time,
sure. I bet Amanda will go.
Why not? I mean, that's a really good point. We should have tiers of milk.
Tiers of milk with our Oreos. So yeah. We'll tell you next week. But join us for that. Pokemon Arceus. I've only just gotten started. Zach is well into the game.
Yeah, I'm
so
about
surprised.
to face the final thing.
But
there's so much more.
That's so exciting to me that it's good.
I'm enjoying it.
Because listen, I'm not going to go easy. I don't think Game Freak should be making Pokemon games. And I told Zach I am not going to be nice.
No, and you should.
Absolutely will not be nice.
There's plenty to be not nice about. But there's also plenty to be very nice about.
That's so good to hear. Because we'll talk about it next week. So join us for that. And stay tuned for the rest of the year. We got a lot coming up. Metal Gear Solid starting right after Pokemon.
I'm just going to cry. I'm so happy.
Played it. I'm so excited.
Are we doubling up 1 and 2 still?
1 and 2, yeah.
Yeah, because they're short.
Yes.
They're short games. Do not fail to finish 2. Like, Tyler, please.
Understood.
We will. I mean, it is enough to where we would have to. You cannot have a conversation with Metal Gear Solid 2 without the last 2 hours of that game.
All right.
You just can't.
Understood. We'll make it happen. We're happy to finally be moving on from 2021. There's so much to play, so much to share.
much
So
to
don't
share.
forget to share what you love with who you love, and also maybe hit up Patreon, because that's
Get
what
our
we need.
Discord.
We need to keep the lights on, as it were.
Maybe hire an editor if you guys
Hire
are
an
really,
editor,
really
correct?
helpful.
We're moving back to Patreon to hopefully keep this a sustainable product, sustainable production. That's the word I was looking for. So maybe send us a couple dollars and jump into the Discord. Come tell us why Arkham Asylum is great, or I want to meet you, the person who thinks Arkham Origins is the way to go.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you.
Yeah.
Because I haven't played it, so I would like to hear a reason why I should. I'm easily swayed, though, so it's not going to take you too much. But I'm also easily dissuaded if the game does not deliver on that.
Yes.
So
come check us out. And once again, don't forget to share what you love with who you love. We'll see you next week.